welcome back to Cinema Cult. After our long hiatus, we're back for a Halloween special. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Honto.
And this week we are doing Matt's pick. Matt, what'd you pick, buddy?
I picked In the Mouth of Madness.
From 1995, I believe? Yes.
1995.
So before we go ahead and dive into this, I want to play the game called What's This Have on Rotten Tomatoes? Matt, what do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
69.
Honto, what do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm going to say 61%.
59.
Oh, wow, dude. Playing it close, and you won.
Playing it close.
Planet close.
Plain close.
Plain close.
Plain close.
Take a shot,
Just
guys.
your plain clothes.
All right, let's talk about budget. What do you think it had?
Oh, I do know the budget for this, so I shouldn't answer this one.
Okay, well, then I'll let Honto go first.
Yeah,
Honto.
Like 60 million?
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Is that a lot?
That's a lot.
That's almost 4 of the Mouth of Madnesses.
Oh, cool.
You want to make it 4 times, yeah. I had a $14 million budget. And how much did it make?
I would say 15 million back.
Honto.
You said 14, right?
14 to make 4 times. If they made it 4 times, how many?
Definitely didn't make the 64 that I initially said. I'll say 14. It made its movie money back.
8.9. It was a box office dud.
That
really?
sucks.
Okay.
So, Matt, why did you pick Mouth of Madness out of curiosity?
Talk about this budget.
I want to cover every Carpenter movie at one point or another, like just to talk about.
Yeah,
all of them.
actually,
I think they're good. They're good conversation pieces.
I forgot that we had done Christine, which is actually a fun episode. I remember recording, and then we done The Thing. We done The Thing.
We done that?
We done it?
Did we do Halloween?
No. Oh, no, we did.
We did.
I forgot. Yeah, we did Halloween 2 combo for Dark House.
Yeah, we did.
And then we also did They Live.
Yeah, so we've covered, like, honestly, I'm surprised we haven't done New York yet. And I'm surprised we haven't done LA yet.
I just got that record. Do you guys get that record yet?
Didn't order it.
Oh, you didn't?
Oh, yeah, I'll buy it here in the next month.
I like New York. I'm not as big in New York as you guys are.
I love that soundtrack.
Yeah.
It is badass.
So, we have all seen this before, right?
I've seen this one other time.
Okay.
And it was like maybe 4 years ago.
Okay. This is like my 4th or 5th time watching it.
Yeah, that's probably my 2nd, maybe 3rd. But
this is like one of the movies I never was interested in seeing it because I heard negative reviews for it.
Which is kind of a surprise because I feel like this is the best of Carpenter's 90s movies.
Yeah, we'll get to it, but
I think it's a bold statement. I think there's a couple other better ones.
Really?
The 90s. Yeah.
From the 90s?
Yeah. Have you seen The Ward?
Have you seen... That's from
2000.
2000. Have you seen Memoirs of Invisible Man?
That's 80s.
No, it's 90s.
It is 90s.
That's 89.
It's like
90s.
92. 91 or 92.
Is it really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's right after They Live.
I thought it was 89.
Nah.
But he had a couple other. He had Children of the Damned. He had Ghost of
the
Mars. Or Village of the Damned.
Yeah. Ghost of Mars is... I mean, I'm not going to include The Ward because it's so studio heavy, even though it is him.
It's still him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But Ghost of Mars might legitimately be the worst in his filmography.
Really? I've never seen it.
It's...
I was listening to the score the other day. It's not too bad.
Yeah, there's
Ghost
a lot
of Mars
of rock
is the one
songs.
I haven't seen yet. Like, there's 2 that I haven't seen. I think it's Ghost of Mars and Memoirs of the Invisible Man.
I haven't seen Dark Star, and that's about it.
I haven't seen Dark Star either. I haven't seen Elvis. I haven't seen Dark Star.
Yeah, I try not to include his like TV movies, but I haven't seen Elvis either.
Elvis is pretty awesome, honestly. And it's kind of a surprise that it's like one of, if not the only Elvis biography movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I honestly, it's... I'm not a huge Elvis fan.
I'm not either, but
I mean, I like his stuff what I hear, but I'm not like, like a diehard Elvis.
adding your Spotify playlist. You know?
But it's I think it holds up as far as like as an interesting movie. There's a lot of Elvis lore that is kind of hinted at throughout the movie, and I think that's really cool. And it tries not to make any opinions about Elvis, but it keeps like basically just the facts. Like, hey, like here's the facts, here's the lore of Elvis.
Yeah.
But we're not making any like straight opinions about it.
Right.
So, which I think is kind of an interesting way to do biography.
Yeah.
Or a biopic.
Biopic.
Biopic it is.
Honto, why don't you talk about the cast and crew?
Starring Sam Neill as John Trent. We've seen him in Jurassic Park. He is the main antagonist in Memoirs of Invisible Man.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that? You ever seen it?
No, I've never seen it. And I was wrong about the date. I always thought it was 89, but I guess it was, you're right, it was...
Man, your whole life's a lie.
I know.
Yeah, 92.
I know John Carpenter movies, except for Dark Star.
Yeah, except for Dark Star.
And then I just watched him in The Omen 3, The Final Conflict, which is terrible. Don't watch it.
It's not that bad.
I've never really had desire to watch
It's
those movies.
so boring. Yeah,
It's not terrible. I wouldn't say terrible, but
it's terrible.
I like Sam Neill a lot. Surprisingly, too, Sam Neill, I think, I want to say like as his story goes is that he got into acting so he could produce his documentaries because he actually started off as a documentary maker.
Okay.
So he got into acting to kind of like.
Oh yeah, he made that.
That way he can do more documentaries.
He's really the only name in this movie, though, right? There's not a lot of big names. Well, I guess this was after Jurassic Park, so yeah, I guess he was kind of a big name at this point. But yeah, there's no other real big actors in this. Vigo from Ghostbusters 2 is in it.
Yeah, Wilhelm von Hamburg is his name.
Oh, I'm watching Matt's brain compute.
He plays Simon.
He's the guy in the bar.
The townsman with the shotgun.
He shoots himself at one point.
That is him. Yeah.
Oh,
you want to hear who else is in this one? It's a surprise cameo. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know it. The Paperboy.
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah.
Hayden Christensen
in his breakout role that got him.
I saw the credits at the end. I'm like, what?
This got him Star Wars Episode 2.
That's weird. I
like the way you ride that bike.
I wish I would have known that when I watched
Son,
it.
you're hired.
Because then I could sit there and recognize him. But I didn't. It was something right afterwards.
But I will say there's Julie Carmen who plays the I guess the female lead in this. Okay. She is the Dandridge in Fright Night 2.
Yeah, she's great.
It's been a while.
You got Jürgen.
I want to say she's into politics now. Is what she does.
I have not looked further than Fright Night 2.
I can't remember. Okay, I remember.
Let me know what you find.
All right, this is going to sound stupid. She's either in politics, a lawyer, or a doctor. One of the three, but I know she doesn't do any acting.
Honcho just keep talking.
She does something more prestigious now.
I think this is why I handle the cast, because it's not a choose-your-own adventure.
Yeah,
but no, she does something...
I want to say she has a family and she might live in New Hampshire,
but no, she
maybe?
does something more...
There's stories about when she was a kid, she thought about what she could do with her life.
Yeah.
Politics.
She does something more prestigious now, but like she talked about her role in Mouth of Madness and Fright Night Part 2 being like real special to her. Like as far as like her acting, her small.
I think she's pretty good in both those movies.
I want to say she likes pumpkin spice lattes,
but who doesn't?
She's into the PSLs.
But who doesn't these days?
You got Jürgen Prochnow, Das Boot, Dune, Beer Fest is what I know him best from.
Oh, it is him.
Grandpapa.
Oh, it's so weird. Yeah, I didn't put that together.
Wow.
David Warner. Speaking of the Omen, he's the guy that gets decapitated in that infamous scene.
I'm going to say this. So there's a really cool scene, and it's John Glover and David Warner, and I'm like, oh, that's Ra's al Ghul and the Riddler.
Yeah,
to the voices for the Batman.
Do you think they talked about it on set? Or
because it would have been like what? This movie's 95.
Yeah, so
animated
years.
Series I think would have still been going.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, John Glover, we know him from most recently our latest episode, Batman Robin and Gremlins 2 in Smallville.
Scrooged.
And Scrooged, yeah. We did Scrooged last Christmas.
We did.
Charlton Heston, who I completely forgot was in this movie.
Yeah.
I know him best from Wayne's World 2. And that's about it.
You know, the great Charlton Heston from his Wayne's World 2.
The guy that hires Sam Neill is the guy
Bernie
from...
Casey.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Oh, is he in...
I only remember from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah. He's
Bill Ted. Yeah, that's right.
The principal.
But did you guys ever see that movie from... I've never actually watched it, but there's a TV movie called Gargoyles from the 1970s.
Yeah. Mm.
He's the main gargoyle.
Oh.
Have you ever see that picture of the main gargoyle? That's him in the makeup.
I don't remember. I remember the theme song was like Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Yeah, that wasn't that. It definitely wasn't it, because you were definitely saying Spider-Man.
Radioactive. Yeah. So, who was this written by? Was this anybody? I didn't see a name on there when I looked earlier.
I completely forgot to write down his name, but it's definitely written by somebody in the industry.
Wait, what did you just say?
Shout out to him. Who wrote this?
Big shout out to the guy.
Because John Carpenter writes a lot of his own stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he hides under pseudonyms.
Oh, maybe no.
Yeah.
The guy that was
this guy definitely. It was definitely a guy, another guy who wrote.
It's not like a Richard Bachman type.
He doesn't, because he doesn't really write in the 90s though. I think everything is either
studio heavy or some external.
No, I don't think so.
So good.
But no, I don't think so. But yeah, he usually hides under a lot of pseudonyms. I know he hides under one and They Live, and I think The Thing. It's hard to like go back and remember. I know he does it in The Fog, I believe so, and then I believe he does in Assault on Precinct 13.
Okay.
I think he hides under and Assault on Precinct 13 he hides under I think a pseudonym as well.
Okay.
But which is kind of cool because he said he's like I don't want my name being all over the credits.
Yeah, that's cool.
He's like. And it just goes to show how independent his movies are. He's like, I'm the producer, the writer, the director, the musician, and he does a lot of like, which I've noticed a lot is that he does a lot of cameos in his movies. So he's like, his name's all over it. And he's like, if I'm going to take my name out of one thing, I'll take it out of writing.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I think is kind of cool. He's in this as well. I didn't catch his cameo.
He's the guy on the bike.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
No, he's in the beginning when. Sam Neill is like I'm not mad, I'm not mad, and he's one of the patients in another room, and it's like
okay.
Yeah, me neither, I'm not mad.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah,
Okay. Well, at this point, let's go ahead and talk about this of a movie.
oh, man,
Spoiler alert. So the movie starts off. Sam Neill is our main character, and basically, he's what do you call him again?
insurance fraud
Like investigator.
Yeah. And so the movie starts off, he's in an asylum. So this whole movie is like a complete flashback. And
Like, you're never going to believe what happened to my story. And then it's like a
Yeah.
whole flashback movie, basically.
And it's a cool setup to a movie. Like, why did this character get here? It's cool to set up a movie where the character is insane.
Yeah.
And they're going to show you how this character became insane.
But you
I
know
think
what
that's cool.
What I really like about though is that they we got to talk about the H.P. Lovecraft influence stuff that's happening in this
it's
movie.
so heavy.
It's very, very heavy.
Even to the point where they're like calling the books by Sutter Kane.
Yeah.
All the book titles are pretty much H.P. Lovecraft.
Well, even the
stories.
title of the movie, Mountain
Well,
of
yeah.
Madness,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
Mountain of Madness. But so there's a lot of like allusions to that, and like him being in an asylum, like Arkham is something that comes.
Oh,
from
yeah, Arkham is like a big.
But him being in an asylum and being crazy in the beginning and kind of like retelling his story. So there's a lot of that. But what I really like about it is that the beginning alludes to the fact that there's something going outside in the asylum, like something's going on with the world.
I do like that. It's crazy out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I really think that's cool. Where it's
Yeah.
like we're not seeing anything, and it's just like that.
You just
your
assume-
imagination kind of goes off.
You just assume it's whatever.
Yeah,
guess.
which I think is like that's the hardest thing about adapting H.P. Lovecraft is the way H.P. Lovecraft reads is it's very like vague.
Mhm.
So it's like your mind kind of expands upon things when he starts talking about like tentacles or
Yeah.
infinite abysses of darkness, and you're like, oh, what does that look like? So your mind plays that, and then
'Cause
when they try to adapt it into movies,
It doesn't like.
it doesn't work as well because they have to show you.
Yeah.
But for this example, bringing up this like him talking about what's going on outside the asylum is like an H.P. Lovecraft thing where it's like, oh, because it lets your mind as a viewer
Right.
kind of like think about what's going on. Like, what is he talking about? Like, or like people are going crazy outside of the asylum. Like, that's really cool.
It is a cool setup, and so it's intriguing to start off. And so we cut to the flashback, and they're showing you how Sam Neill works, and he's basically okay. So the guy that he's talking to is actually the guy from They Live, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. He's
Yeah.
like the guy that's in charge of like the community, I guess.
I thought he was Meatloaf at first.
Yeah,
He's a Carpenter regular.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's also in.
Escape from L.A.
I think he's in L.A.
Yeah.
He's in Village of the Damned.
Yeah.
And he's in They Live. And it's like it's kind of weird if you watch like if you look at John Carpenter's movies too. Like there's certain actors that like
Pop up.
he uses them in Memoirs of an Invisible Man, and then he pops up as the main character in Mouth of Madness.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you kind of see those kind of.
Because they even have like, what is it? Buck Flowers?
Buck Cherry.
Buck
Yeah.
Cherry?
Buck-
Flowers? Yeah.
But Buck Flowers is a huge one that's like in a lot of his movies.
He's in They Live, and then he's also in
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's also in.
Back to the Future.
Yeah. Which isn't John Carpenter.
Cool.
I want to say he's in Christine.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's got that line. He's like crazy drunk pedestrian.
Yeah.
As Christine's chasing that kid down the street.
Yeah, but it's hard because like a lot of these cameos are like interchangeable. Where it's
Yeah.
like, I know Buck Flowers is in Village of the Damned too. He's the janitor that jumps off the roof.
Oh,
with
onto the broom handle.
yeah,
or the
handle.
broomstick.
into the car.
Yeah, that's pretty twisted.
Yeah,
So with this whole scene, they're pretty much showing you that this guy's trying to pull an insurance scam, and Sam Neill is supposed to be like the best of the best.
Yeah.
And so he calls his bluff, And then this is when he gets asked, he's like, hey, there's this famous writer, Sutter Kane, and he's missing, and we wanted to know if you want to go look into this to see if it's really a scam or if they're trying to pull,
Right.
so they can get some more money. And what's cool is as they're talking about this, they're sitting in this little diner, and across the street is this guy going insane with an axe who ends up being Sutter Kane's agent.
Right.
Which I never caught when I was younger. But you just see in the background him like slowly walking forward
awesome
to Sam
shot.
Neill. Yeah, it's
I like
really
how
cool
they also
shot.
conveniently like look at the papers like away from the window. They're
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah,
yeah. So they're
turn
backs
this way. I
turned.
want to show you something. But he breaks through the glass, and this is like Sam Neill's like introduction to this crazy world.
Right. Do you
So-
read Sutter Kane?
So he meets with Charlton Heston, and they decide that hey, look into this. So then Sam Neill starts reading his books. And it's starting to get to his head because we have this whole scenario that plays out like 4 or 5 times in the actual movie.
Which is
It's
like
when-
the alleyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sees like Sutter Kane posters on the wall, turns the corner, and there's a cop beating the crap out of some kid. And I can't remember what he says. He's like, you want some of this or something like that?
Yeah.
So that scene is going to play like 4 or 5 times in this movie.
Which is kind of a weird
Why is
scene.
this significant to the movie?
I don't know.
I think because they basically what happens at the end is basically what's being shown here, where the world goes insane, where there's mass murders and suicides, and
But I think it's weird because it's like, I wouldn't say that it's not weird, but it's just I was trying to find the significance of it throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what does this mean though? And it does pop up a lot. It pops up
It's
quite often.
this particular scene, because I think it takes place outside of the movie theater, which is where the movie basically
does it?
ends. I think so. Yeah, it's right outside the movie theater.
Well, in this area of scenes, I think there's a really cool scene and a really goofy scene. The cool scene, and it's gotten me a couple times that I've seen this movie, is after he has this vision, he sits back on his couch.
Oh yeah,
And a cop is sitting right next to him.
yeah.
And it's such good pacing for a horror movie because, like, the rhythm of it's awesome because you think the scare's over.
Right.
So you relax, and then he sits back, and the cop's there, and so it catches you off guard. It's a really
Which I
well
think
done
is like
shot.
expertly done for like that's how you do horror. Is like you just when you think you make everything calm and then basically just insert this random scene that has like kind of like I mean it has a bearing because it's mixing reality with whatever the story
For
is.
sure.
But it catches you off guard because you think everything is pretty much calm.
Yeah, and I think that, and I think like
The fact they had horrible audio, so everything was super loud.
I know, right?
Oh, really?
It was
I
bad.
didn't really know. Oh, yeah. Because I
5.1
because I kept having to turn the
digital
volume down.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. But no, I think it's like if you throw a lot of scares too, because in that scene leading up, there's a lot of jump scares. Like I think there's like 2 of them.
Well, yeah.
2 or 3. Mm-hmm. And then so it's like at that point when you go back to the couch, you're like, okay, that's it for the jump scares, and then it comes in, and you're like, oh, and that one works.
But then shortly after, at least in this area of scenes, I think this is goofy. Sam Neill looks off Sutter Kane's books and realizes that he's
I
left.
still do not understand how
It doesn't
this,
make any
how this
sense.
works.
So basically, there's these little pictures on each of the writer's books.
Yeah.
Sam Neill cuts them out and decides to make a map out of these pictures.
Well, they're all outlined in red.
Yeah, but how would you put together like, oh, I know what he was doing. I'm going to cut off these covers so I can make a map. It's a weird scene. I
Yeah.
don't buy it.
Yeah, I think like I don't hate it.
I guess-
I think it's cool. I think it just needs to be fleshed out a little bit.
I guess I feel like I'm that dumb that I would never, if I was like in charge of this case, I would never figure that
Yeah,
out.
right. Like,
Yeah.
oh, he put red lines on each of his books.
Wow, that's a cool
I guess
aesthetic.
we'll never find him.
That's very aesthetically aesthetically pleasing. That looks really nice.
Well, we tried. So he decides, he's like, all right, this is where Sutter Kane is hiding out. I still think that this is a scam, but he's over in this part of town.
right.
So Charlton Heston sends this girl that works for the company, too, to go with Sam Neill.
Is she like a publisher or
Like,
what's her role?
Oh, she's an
specifically?
editor. They say
Oh,
it.
editor,
She's an
okay.
editor, yeah. So they go ahead and they head to this town, and this is another goofy scene. So he's driving the car, and she's sleeping, and he
just-
reaches into his glove box to grab a bike
yeah,
horn.
this is random.
He's got like a clown. Honk, honk.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like it felt improv? Like I got an idea to spruce up
He'll
this
throw a
scene.
horn in it. Like, it
Do
doesn't...
you think it was a prop brought from Sam Neill himself? Like
Yeah.
it was one of his personal items?
There's something about it where I'm like, I'm trying to figure out why. There's a reason why it's in the movie.
Yeah.
and I'm trying to figure out why it's there.
I think it was just for that little gag part. I think.
Yeah, it's just strange. I couldn't find any
Yeah, because
information
immediately
about it.
after that, he's like, "Well, I'm going to take a nap now," and then she basically assumes, or takes over the wheel basically to start driving, and then this is where a bunch of weird stuff happens.
Which I think this is one of the more memorable scenes from the movie.
This is what I remember most.
She's driving at night, and I think because there's a couple like driving scenes, but like the road kind of disappears underneath.
This is an awesome transition.
This is
as far as
very,
like,
very
her
cool.
going to Hobbs End.
Yeah.
I think this is really cool with like her looking out the window. And seeing like
the lines in the
sky
road
underneath
disappear,
it, like the lightning revealing that there's no sky.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the lightning revealing that
road.
there's no road and
Yeah.
it's just sky.
It is pretty neat. I didn't
And
even
then all
think
of a
about
sudden
it as
she
that's
hits
the transition.
Yeah, and then she hits the bridge and it's like flashing.
Yeah, it's very. I was actually praising some of the editing styles here because it's a lot of fast cuts and imagery that like basically reveals future scenes in a way.
Yeah.
But this is definitely another scene that stands out.
But yeah, my sound was all over the place. So anytime there was a scene like this, I would have to turn it down.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, go ahead and describe this to me because I
Okay.
think this is like this makes total sense, and I feel like an idiot that I didn't know this.
Okay, so basically, when you set up a 2-channel stereo or it's in 5.1 or whatever, you still have to have, like, we both have a 2-speaker setup. Do you have that too?
Yeah,
You do.
yeah.
And the thing is you have to have that third speaker for the vocals. Because the vocals are supposed to be being pushed out for that middle speaker.
Is it the 2.1 setup or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And since we don't have that third speaker,
It's
the voices are coming out the
compensating.
2 speakers. So that's why we're having to turn it up to hear it.
Yeah.
And then the special effect or the sound effects come out really loud too.
Right.
So if you got that third speaker to be that main,
So then you'll have a better like audio system. You don't have
It'll
to
be
turn it down all the
balanced.
time.
Yeah.
It'll be balanced.
Okay.
So that would make like
so
I've
you
never
have a
heard that
sound bar in the
explained.
middle. And
Yeah.
And I know people like, especially nowadays, complain because everyone's like, "Oh, I have to watch everything with subtitles now." And it's odd. It's probably because nobody has a legit audio setup anymore. Everyone just does sound bars and they call it a day.
Yeah.
Well, that plus I do like to watch stuff with subtitles sometimes.
Oh yeah, I always watch subtitles.
Matt hates
But maybe it's because we gotten used to it.
I like subtitles.
Yeah, I like reading.
Oh man,
I don't read books, so I read subtitles.
Yeah,
I hate you
I read that
guys.
movie.
I hate you guys.
I love the script for that
I love it
movie.
because like I'm the one.
I did not watch this movie, but I did read it.
Like I watch so many foreign films, and I'm the one who gets thrown under the bus. Like Matt doesn't like subtitles. I don't like subtitles. Yeah, I don't like subtitles in general. I wish dubbing was more of an art form that was like
dubbing could be way better.
yeah,
They
that,
ruin
where you
movies.
could watch foreign movies and not have to read them because
Yeah.
I really do feel like subtitles take away from the movie experience.
Right.
And I think a lot of foreign films get kind of like diluted to the viewing experience because you're reading them and you're like, and then something happens on screen. You're like looking down at the bottom and you're like, oh, I was supposed to be looking at the top for that jump scare.
I love how
You know?
people love reading, and maybe it's not the same group of people, but like people will trash, or not trash, but they'll like use subtitles for all movies they watch, American-made movies or whatever.
Yeah.
But then they'll trash Hulu for making them watch like Parasite with subtitles. Like, what is this trash? Like, why do I
Yeah,
have
it's
to-
really weird. It's like
You can't both. Like,
yeah, you
gotta-
can't. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean because there is like a outside of the COVID pandemic that's going on. There is a pandemic of people that have to watch movies with subtitles.
That's crazy.
Everyone has to do it now, and it's
Yeah.
like crazy.
What are you talking about? I feel like people are
There's like a
shaking-
pandemic in Mouth of Madness, and then there's the COVID pandemic, and then there's
It's
also
leaking
the
out
pandemic
into
of-
our reality.
Yeah, where like you have to watch movies with subtitles because you can't hear them.
All right, I feel like we need a palate cleanser real quick. Did you guys watch the trailer for the new Stand that they put out this week?
I watched the one that was like, I guess, a month ago.
They put out a
Yeah.
2-minute one this week.
How'd you feel about it?
I think it looks all right.
Hopefully it's good.
I like James Marsden a lot. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Because he's playing, what, is it Stu? Or?
Gary Sinise's character.
Yeah, Gary Sinise.
I think it looks fine. I'm okay
I
with
think the
it.
casting's on point. I feel
look of
like
it?
the trailer didn't show enough to be like enticing because like there's a lot of creepy moments in The Stand, and the literal creepiest moment in that trailer was like a wolf, like a dog, and I was like, really? I was like, this is how you guys sold this trailer? Was
Yeah.
like this is supposed to be the most epic scary novel of all time, and you
Right.
put one scare in there and it's a dog.
I think that
I was
movie's
a little disappointed, and I wanted to see
I think it
something
looked
like
fun.
I think that TV movie's going to tank because Alexander Skarsgård right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like the long hair that Randall Flagg has in that TV movie.
Dude,
I
the
am
guy in the
very
original casting's really good.
I'm very
That's how he's
excited.
described. That, like legitimately, that's how they describe him in
Yeah.
the book, where it's
Yeah.
like the
walking dude.
jean jacket and all that stuff. But it's like I don't think he has that in the trailer, does he?
No,
He's just wearing like black.
I think it's more like leather
clothes.
black.
No, he's
Yeah.
got got it.
Yeah.
He's got the whole. He's got the
jean jacket.
Yeah, the whole getup.
The Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah, the Canadian tuxedo with the smiley face button. And like honestly, I'm really excited for him. I really like him as an actor.
It's cool that
So I'm really excited
the
to see him in that
Skarsgårds
role.
were really like getting the roles in Stephen King movies.
Yeah.
Adaptations.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Bill was Pennywise, and then he's also in the first season of that Castle Rock on
That's
Hulu.
right. I never finished that.
I didn't either.
Do you remember the first Stand movie where Miguel Ferrer almost ate a rat?
That happens in the
real?
book.
Real life?
In real?
In real life.
Are you for real?
That's my favorite chapter in the book.
I still haven't read
because
the book.
It's
Neither have I.
basically Miguel Ferrer's character is trapped in a prison.
Oh.
And everyone's either dying in it or has left.
So
So
he's just
the
stuck.
inmates are just stuck there.
That
And he's like
sucks.
forced to like eating rats. And then that's when Randall Flagg shows up to
yeah.
like
Release.
release him. But his story is like the most interesting story I feel like in that book.
I don't remember
Honestly,
much
there's a
from it.
lot of great stories in that book, but his background, because he's like a psychopath, and it's just kind of like you
like
can definitely tell like King has fun writing him as opposed to the
Yeah,
other characters.
If that book was like 800 pages shorter, I'd probably read it.
If it was like 20 pages, I'd read it.
I no
read it
okay.
twice.
Now I did. I the furthest I got in the book, because I will say I haven't finished it. The furthest I got in the book
You're
was
sitting here talking like you read it, and you're
Yeah,
like,
I thought you read
so I've heard.
the furthest I got in the book was 200
The
pages.
tales have.
That might be my favorite chapter if I read it.
So the furthest I've gotten in the book was 200 pages, and this was like 10 years ago. And I had put it down because I was like, man, I know this book's going to be great, and I don't want to read it so early. I want to leave it as like the final Stephen King book to read. Like,
Okay.
you know, kind of leave it on the back burner. So it'd be like this, because I had read like Salem's Lot, The
Yeah.
Shining, Dead Zone, all his big hitters, right? And I was like, I got to leave this for like later on. So I decided to pick it up during, so I got 200 pages in and quit. And I decided to pick it up during the pandemic, like week 2 of the pandemic. And dude, it hit on such a chord
Oh, yeah.
that I had to put it down. I was like, "This is."
It looks like
way
I'll
too
I'll
close to
never
home.
finish this book then.
Dude, it was way too close to home because like he started talking about people like choking on phlegm.
Oh, God.
And that's how they're dying, and it's like because it's the super flu.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do this. I was like, this is. It was just really like getting to me, and like I think the furthest I got that time was 80 pages. Like
Jeez.
back into it. 80
Yeah.
pages.
So your long way of telling that story is you have not read it either.
Long story short, long like
short,
long,
I hope to read it one
long
day.
like the book. I haven't finished it. I made it 100 pages in out of the 1100.
I read the back cover and it sounds enticing. And
I read the wiki page on
the
it.
new trailer looks nothing like the back cover of that book. So
Matt, do you want to comment?
I know. Every time I say something, he like jumps. He's like, "Oh, you said it with these words."
okay, so back to Mouth the Madness.
Spider-Man 2. Oh wait, that wasn't on the podcast.
That wasn't on the podcast.
No, it's not.
Now
Chris
people are
hasn't
like,
seen Spider-Man 2.
Long story short.
He says he's a Spider-Man fan, but he thinks the Amazing Spider-Man movies are better than the Tobey Maguire movies.
No, I said I saw Spider-Man, and I also saw Spider-Man 2.
No, like
I saw it
well.
too. Like I saw
As
it.
well.
I saw it too.
Oh man, I'm so glad you referenced an off-podcast
Yeah.
conversation. So back to Mouth of Madness. So they arrive in this town, and it is like very much a little
Hobbs End.
Stephen King town.
Yeah.
And they go to this hotel, and it's the older lady from Happy Gilmore.
And she's in a bunch of stuff.
That's what I remember her most
Yeah.
from. But there's a cool couple creepy things going on here. So they go check in the hotel, and apparently this character at the hotel, she is supposed to be a character in one of Sutter Kane's books where she kills her husband.
Yeah.
And this is a cool setup. I think the premise for this movie is awesome.
Because they think that like what they rebuilt the town essentially as like a PR stunt. Is that
yeah,
what they're...
the lady that Sam Neill's with says it later on, like, hey, it originally was a stunt. It's not anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But this, like, the premise for this movie is so cool. I just feel like it falls flat in so many areas.
Oh man, I feel like it only continues to build from here.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I feel like it starts to fall off like 30 minutes into it.
I love how weird it gets.
See, I
It's
don't
so
think it's weird
crazy.
enough. That's my problem with this movie.
Oh.
But I mean, there's like cool things like when they go into the hotel. Matt looks at me so disconcerting. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
No, but go ahead.
They go into
Nice try,
Not the right
bud.
word.
they go into the hotel, and there's like cool things going on. There's like this painting that keeps like switching like
Yeah.
faces. And we do find out that the lady who's working the hotel
It's
desk
the painter,
is-
right?
yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, no. And then she actually is like her husband is like chained to her leg
yeah.
on the floor.
The old ball and chain, if you will.
Which is cool, but it's not like I don't know. I feel like it could have been done better.
Yeah.
I feel like this might be the movie that I feel like Carpenter. I could be completely wrong, but maybe where there was more studio involvement. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Because personally, I think.
Explain.
Well, I feel like his last real John Carpenter movie was Prince of Darkness, because it feels like a John Carpenter movie. This one doesn't as much, I feel like.
I feel like okay, explain.
I don't know. If you took John Carpenter's name off this and put somebody else's name, I
just
believe
like a
it. It could just
generic
be... Yeah.
Explained.
What do you mean explain? It just doesn't... It doesn't
Like, what is it missing? Like, what does it have that makes it feel weird?
What's the John
that it's-
Carpenter
yeah.
touch? that
What's the
it's-
John? Yeah, exactly. What's the John Carpenter touch that you're like?
well, the soundtrack's a big deal. The soundtrack's not very John Carpenter-y.
It's also composed with somebody else, I think, right? Or no, I'm thinking of something else.
you're right.
No.
Is it?
Like,
I
the
can't
theme
remember the name.
song for it is a John Carpenter. I do buy that. But the rest of the
feels-
score doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I think
But
as again the '90s, it's more like rocking guitars and not that synthesizer
yeah.
theme or music
Yeah.
that he.
But it is the
incorporates in his
90s, so I
movies.
understand that
Yeah,
transition.
Yeah,
But then I also feel like the characters aren't as fleshed out as they are in his other movies. They're more, I don't know what, they're more like almost the anti-hero. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the coolest things I ever heard, and I think Matt heard this too, is that with Kurt Russell's character in Big Trouble in Little China, thinks he's the main character in the movie, but he's not. He's like the sidekick.
He's the slapstick comedy.
And that's what's cool about
yeah.
that is it's like his characters are very non-traditional.
You can say it. Iconic.
I wasn't going to say that.
Oh,
But,
I mean, that's what they are.
rewatch Big Trouble in China? Not. We'll do it later on the
Get
podcast.
out of
Dude,
here.
I know.
Get out of
He's
here.
on a whole thing.
Anti-JC over here.
He's like tripping over his words. I don't know quite what he's saying, but
His characters, I feel like, are more memorable. And as much as I like Sam Neill, and I think the cast does a good job, they're just very like cardboard characters.
I honestly though, what I was thinking about while watching it this time, I think they're supposed to be that way.
Yeah, they're written because they're, spoiler alert, they're just characters in a book.
Yeah, they're like that's. I didn't
feel like
realize
that's a
that
cop
they
out
have
to
like,
say
They have no meaning in the overall bearing of the story.
and I almost feel like that's why like that horn scene is there.
Horn scene. Oh, okay.
Like when he takes that horn out of the
Yeah.
glove compartment, it's so weird.
I feel like this is you guys trying to compensate.
No,
for,
no.
like,
I feel like it's so weird and out of place that it's like that's the reason why it's there because they don't want it to be like real life.
like,
They want it to be
why is this hero supposed to be like
almost like
an idiot?
fiction written. You know what I mean? Where like, they wanted to make it sound like it's just like it's fabricated or whatever. It's not reality, and like I think that's.
I
what
feel like
they're
it sounds like
getting
a
at.
stretch. It's like saying like, oh, the movie's supposed to be really bad because it's based on a book.
No, I think that's why you're not really feeling for his character, and I think that's what it comes down to is that
That's why I love the ending so much. The acting on Sam Neill's part gets crazier and crazier because he
Yeah.
starts realizing that his life is meaningless.
yeah, that he is just a character in a book that this writer wrote.
But see, I don't feel like he goes the full bonkers that he should.
Oh, he does.
I don't feel like he does.
Oh, I think he
At
does.
the end, he goes full bonkers.
I don't buy it. I feel like they're telling me he went crazy, but I don't feel like I'm seeing.
But that's
oh,
the whole
crazy.
point with like the ending when they show the movie.
Yeah.
like that would be
He's
wouldn't it
laughing
be
and
crazy
crying.
to find out that like you were a character in a movie and you're like, oh,
We'll
my
get
gosh,
to
and
this
here's the
ending.
movie.
The ending is
And that's what he's basically
Awesome.
doing. He's like he's slowly cracking from the middle point in the movie to the end. Is that it's just kind of like he's realizing that like he is a character in a book, and that
he realizes that he's not in charge of his own
yeah.
destiny. That he thinks
and the world around him is changing without his
because
like,
he's essentially
actual
like
assistant.
he's as the investigator, he's essentially the skeptic of the movie. Like, this is all fake, blah blah blah. Like, none of the supernatural stuff is real.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
all prank. And then slowly he starts realizing that it's not a prank whatsoever.
Which I will say that I wonder what it would be like if the movie was written more as if like he was in a movie. Like there were like nods of things, like not like Truman Show-esque, like where a light comes out of the sky, but like slowly starting to realize like things were like like movie kind of like he feels like he is in kind of fiction, like
Yeah.
like where it's like, oh well, what did you do yesterday? And it's like, well, I don't remember what I did yesterday, and it's like, oh yeah,
I
because
see.
there's only a few scenes you had
Yeah.
that were supposed to be last week.
outside.
You know
like,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like those kind of things
Yeah.
where it's like that. I wonder how the story would play out if it was like that. They started
unless it's mentioned by the narrator or referenced by a character, you have no basically memory of stuff you've done outside of those bounds. Basically,
yeah,
That's
there you
cool.
go. I think
That's pretty cool.
So I wonder how the story would play out if it was written that way.
Okay, so
The podcast can't hear you nod.
Oh, I had a sound effect like a honk 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 honk.
honk, honk, honk.
well, we'll get to it. I mean, there's things I want to talk about. So this comes in and out throughout the movie. So I'll just talk about it now. As he keeps having the vision of I don't know if he's having the vision or the dream or whatever is going on with the cop in the alleyway.
Yeah, it keeps
But
coming
then it
back.
becomes like a monster and like
yeah.
it's
the
very Prince of Darkness where other people are kind of like actually this is very similar to Prince of Darkness with like the people like not zombies so much but like
like it's that hordes like
Yeah.
Good way of putting
that
it. Yeah.
hordes of
dude. Yeah, that's a
senseless evil.
that's an ongoing trait in all of his movies is the hordes of unknown entities or enemies.
Yeah.
Similar to his background in Western movies, where it's like the Native Americans are always the enemy, but they're always unknown. Like
Yeah.
So it's just like the ongoing thing. Where in this case, it's the entities of this literary creation that they only exist in an other world basically, and are slowly breaking into reality. The end.
You looked at me like, didn't I just
That
blow
is
your
my
mind?
college thesis.
Yeah. No, but I love that concept that he does in all of his movies. You see it like in Assault on Precinct 13 or Escape from New York, where it's just like people, or even like The Fog, like they're enemies that are shrouded in darkness.
They don't have a voice.
And you never really see them fully.
Yeah.
But like it's similar to this movie where it's like there are monsters and you only see them at the end when they like finally break through the boundary of the book or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I dig that whole concept though.
Like what you're saying, it's there's people in the shadows. They don't seem like they have like their own like way of thinking. They think as a mass.
Yeah.
And it's like we can list them off. Like you said, Assault on Precinct 13, Escape from New York, Prince of Darkness,
Big Trouble in Little China, even.
Big Trouble in Little China, Village of the Damned to a certain degree. They all think as one.
Yeah.
We have it in this. And it's like
Ghost of Mars is also especially.
Ghost of Mars
especially.
Village of the Damned.
Vampires.
Yeah,
vampires. They don't talk. We don't like. He doesn't even bother like saying
there's
like,
only
what
one.
do these guys like hang out and do? What do they talk
there's
about?
There's only
like,
one real
existence.
prominent enemy in each of his movies. Where it's like in this movie it's Sutter Kane, or like in Escape from New York it's the Duke. The Fog, it's like the leader of the group of pirates or whatever, or sailors that speaks for all of them. There's always like one person that is like the spokesperson for the group of enemies, if you will.
That's interesting. Yeah. Actually, I didn't realize how common that is, too.
Oh, yeah.
So in the movie, Linda, who plays the girl that he's with, she sees Kane, and she goes to meet with him, who looks... I don't know, I keep thinking of the movie Warlock when I see him. You remember the movie Warlock?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Wait, who's this?
Kane.
Sutter Kane, yeah.
So she meets with Kane, and Kane's like, hey, I just finished my new book. I don't know.
A little confused by this, by the way.
Well, go ahead. I'm just going to get into it.
Okay,
His,
but
like,
they
big
talk about
reveal.
the book. Okay, so the reason why people go crazy is they read the book. Okay,
Because
they establish that rule, right?
Yes.
It's
So,
something
hold on,
where...
let me get to it.
Oh, okay.
I
Shut your
haven't said
damn
anything yet. Wait a second. So they establish that if you read the book, you go crazy. She has said the editor.
She's the only one that's read it.
Yeah, she said she's read it.
Yeah.
Like at least half of it so far. And
I think she said
the
she
other
stopped,
person,
right? Because it was too long, and it hit a little too close to home.
Yeah, during the pandemic.
And it was nothing like the trailer.
I can't get through. Hold on. Let me explain. Okay, so she says she read half the book.
Yes.
Okay, the other person who has also read half the book was his agent. And he went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't she going crazy?
Well, that's a good question.
Why did she not go crazy?
I don't know my voice at all high. Oh, that's a good
That kind of drove me nuts. I was like, wait a minute. We established the rule in this movie is that whoever reads the book goes crazy. That's why there's mass hysteria. Why doesn't she go crazy? And is it because she's just written that way?
She's just written that way.
But also...
She's not bad. She's just drawn that way.
Exactly.
But at a certain point, she does just kind of fall off in the story. She does make a comment about, like, I'm not even, like, a character in the book. I got written out.
Yeah, like my story doesn't matter or whatever.
Yeah, and then to the point where Charlton Heston at the end of the movie says, like, she never even existed.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. We never even set an editor with you.
Yeah.
So you're saying that whole ending when you find out that she never went, she doesn't exist at all, is because she got written out?
Yeah, she got written out.
Well,
Is
just
that
part
why
of
she
the-
doesn't go? And I'm saying, is that why she didn't go crazy?
It's just part of the story where Charlton Heston is also a character. He's just written to say that she never existed.
Are they all just and that's what I mean. Is that the reason why, or is this
interesting.
just
Okay.
a hole in the story that they just they didn't bother to fix?
I like your idea of that. I think that's cool. It sounds cool. But no, I think it's a really cool synopsis. I hope that's what it was going for. So he's like, hey, I'm writing the book, et cetera, and he did this. Hey,
what? A total like fuck you to whatever Matt just said. It was like, yeah, that's great. So in the next scene, like,
oh no, I thought you were laughing because I feel like sometimes I talk about these scenes and it's like my drunk history, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I wrote this book.
The characters are all saying what Chris is saying.
Like, I want you to read my book. It's really good. And she's like, okay, I will.
Hold on 1 second. I gotta puke.
Hold on. Okay, I'm good. There's a scene that's cool, but it's kind of goofy. Is when she goes to kiss him, and then there's like a monster on his back.
Yeah. Is on Sutter Kane's back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool scene. I don't know. This is one of those movies. I mean, I don't hate this movie.
It's like,
but I want to love it.
Is
this is why
he
this movie
a
drives.
monster from that universe, or is he just the creator? Like, what is?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you want to talk about that?
Like,
Okay.
what is?
Let's go and talk
Sutter
about that.
Kane, I
it
guess.
kind of opens up a bag of worms here, as far as like
What?
when all of a sudden it's like you start questioning everything in the movie. Like, well, hold on. If he's the writer, is he writing himself? Like, how can he be?
It's like a chicken before the egg, or
Yeah.
chicken before the egg
That's a cool
situation.
concept.
Exactly. So it's like you start
Is
questioning
he
everything.
God
So it's a little bit
himself of this universe, or is he just another character in
tough. This book.
whatever the monsters are on the other side of the
Yeah.
paper?
And what does that say for the ending? Like, because we're not reading the book, we're watching the movie.
Yeah,
You know,
we
what I mean?
are.
So
just
what does
watching
that
the
say
movie.
for the movie? Like,
Interesting.
yeah, it kind of hurts.
I like this. I like this.
I do like discussing this more. I mean, I don't love, like I said, I don't love this movie.
Yeah.
But discussing it makes me like it a little bit more. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this podcast.
Yeah.
I will listen to it. So she's kind of with him now. They have like some kind of confrontation. So he decides to leave town. And every time he tries to leave town, he ends up getting teleported back to the town. So I'm kind of, it's hard to follow this movie because a lot happens in the last like 30, 40 minutes, but it doesn't really make sense. So it's kind of
It
hard
like
to,
double plays on itself.
So
where it's
because
like-
it goes back to the hotel, right? And it's like now the painting has turned into like the two people in the painting. It's like their backs are turned in one in the beginning, and then midway they're looking at you in the painting or whatever.
Yeah.
And then by the like third time they show it, they're just like blobs of monsters on the ground basically.
Yeah.
But then like now the he hears noises coming from the basement, I think, and he sees the old lady from Happy Gilmore is like chopping up the husband, which is like what happens in the book that is like Sutter Kane wrote. But she's also like a tentacle monster, a walking tentacle monster.
yeah.
And but then it's weird because like he sees Linda like silhouetted in the window of the door frame, and she's just standing there, but then you start seeing like tentacles coming from underneath the door, and it's really gross looking.
Okay.
It's similar to like what the tentacles look like in the thing when it's taking over the dogs, like they're just wrapping around and like kind of being you know. But this is where it gets kind of weird, where it's like, what is going on?
Well, I think she tries to they try to both leave together after this, right?
Yeah. But
And-
doesn't he encounter her though in the
castle?
hotel room, and she throws him through the
Yeah.
door?
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about
That's
this for
the
a
door,
second because
yeah.
I feel like this is like a good segue to talk about the humor in this movie. That it wasn't apparent the first 4 or 5 times I watched it, and then this time I realized like, oh, there's actually a lot of like funny stuff in this movie that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Like when he gets like,
Okay, I'm waiting.
okay, like when he's talking to her in the hotel room, and he like
Oh, you mean?
realizes-
Oh, you're gonna. Okay,
and
go
then,
ahead.
okay, so he's talking to her in the hotel room, and I can't like quite remember like as the steps go, but he finds out she's a monster, and then he gets like thrown through the hotel room,
comically
like,
through the
door.
wall, basically.
Yeah, it just cuts, and it's him.
It's
just,
like it's
falling
like
out there.
it's kind of like that explosion in Big Trouble in Little China, where it's just like
yeah.
debris and all that
And-
stuff.
And there's that, and then there's moments where it's like when he kicks the attendant, or is it the attendee, or how do you say that? Like in a mental ward, like
Just like patient.
no, it's like the guy who the people who, like,
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
wrestle everybody. Like
Yeah.
I don't know exactly their names, but
they hire wrestlers to handle the patients.
is it
and
attendant?
I don't know.
It's like a caretaker or like
but he kicks him in the balls.
yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm sorry about the balls.
yeah, he yells it out in the
And it's
beginning.
like there's like humor like that, or like when they start playing the Carpenters in the
it's
like over the
only just
music,
begun.
and he's like looking around. He's like, oh no, he's like, not the Carpenters too. And it's just like there's stuff like that where it's like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was humor in this movie.
when
It might
he-
be the funniest Carpenter movie, John Carpenter movie.
Watched it in Memoirs of Invisible Man.
You know, as I say, was real funny, and it took me like a couple times to watch it. Is when she's sleeping in the car and he honks that horn.
Yeah.
Like I just played it like over and over.
I
And I
know.
was like,
Yeah.
this is.
Can we talk about Memoirs of the Invisible Man for a minute though? 'Cause,
Okay.
like we've never brought this up, but I read a story on it recently, and the reason why he made Memoirs of the Invisible Man, which was Chevy Chase's like pride project.
That is crazy that
Yeah,
Chevy
he
Chase
made
was
it-
in a John Carpenter movie.
So John Carpenter made it for Chevy Chase for Universal Studios so that he could make a remake of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh yeah.
And at one point, like I listened to it with it was an interview with Rick Baker.
Okay.
And Rick Baker talked about it. He's like, yeah, they even hired me to come on, and I did all these like
Dude.
sketches of the creature, and it was going to be the remake of Creature from the Black Lagoon, and we were going to do it, and it was so close to being greenlit, and then all of a sudden it was. Like,
I think I
Universal was
mentioned
like, no,
this
we're good.
to you outside the podcast, but how awesome would it have been if it just said the John Carpenter's The Creature from the Black, like the big text
yeah.
title. I mean, that would be awesome.
Well,
to
I
see.
think part of the reason it probably didn't happen was because starting from like Prince of Darkness on, like Carpenter doesn't really have a hit ever again.
it just
Yeah.
continues to dwindle for some reason. I feel like they're still good movies. Because after Prince of Darkness, I think is Memoirs of Invisible Man.
I think it's Prince, or yeah, I think that order. I think you're right.
And
okay.
so it's like They Live 88, Prince of Darkness 89, I believe. Or maybe it's inverse.
87 or 88. I think it's 87's Prince of Darkness.
Okay, so then 88 is They Live.
They Live.
And I feel like people weren't on board with They Live because it's basically like a satire or like basically a commentary on society, which is like weird that it's actually prevalent today.
Honestly, and that's the thing too, all of his movies are that way.
Yeah.
They are like way ahead of their time, and they don't do very good in the studio, and they don't do very good
They
when
don't
they get
connect well
released.
because it's like they're like They Live has a message that speaks louder than the actions because it's basically just like an action movie or like a commentary movie disguised as an action movie, but then like people aren't on board with it, so when he makes Memoirs, it's more of a comedy and not a horror movie like he did, or an action movie. It's more of just a comedy, and it doesn't really work at all in my opinion. But you know, people kind of drop off from there even further, and then when he comes out with In the Mouth of Madness, it's even further from like Halloween or Escape from New York. People aren't, so it just continues to go downward from those movies.
Yeah, and it's weird because like in retrospect, I think they're all like really decent movies.
Oh yeah, no, I think they're legitimately great.
Like I said, I haven't seen Memoirs, but what I've heard is that Chevy Chase kind of ruined that movie.
Yeah, I would have to watch it again, but I
he's kinda
remember liking it as a kid.
But I
do too.
He's
But-
kind of like Eddie Murphy, where like he is such a big name, and then he
career.
gets attached to the movie, and then he just takes over, and the movie's not very good.
ego takes over, and
Yeah, because like I was like recently I've been watching a lot of Eddie Murphy movies for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it just kind of just random to popping up, and I'm like, man, a lot of his movies are kind of ruined by him because of like his
out.
his control of the studio.
okay.
You know what I mean? Because I was
I
watching
agree.
like Harlem Nights or Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, you
or,
said
like,
Harlem Nights wasn't like that great.
No,
I've never seen
no,
it, but I always
wasn't.
remember like the reviews being.
It should be freaking hysterical.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
it's Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy,
Yeah.
and it should be hysterical. And it is one of the like weirdest toned movies I've ever watched. Where I was
Yeah.
like, is this supposed to be serious?
Yeah.
At one point, Arsenio Hall pops up, and he's like this complete caricature where it's like you can tell he's in a comedy movie, but it doesn't work. It doesn't. It just doesn't fit.
whatever tone that they're going for doesn't really match.
But Chevy
well.
Chase stuff is the same way, where it's like I think he gets attached, and it's like he becomes like such a tyrant about the way it should be that it kind of turns into nothing.
Right.
You know.
To what your original thought was with the humor, I feel like Big Trouble in Little China is more like humorous one, but
that one's hilarious.
this being such
Yeah.
a dark movie, some of the one-liners are good.
I think I laughed harder at
But
this.
I feel like it's only in the beginning. I laugh a couple times in the beginning, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's beginning and end. Basically the part where he's already crazy, I feel like, are the hilarious parts of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have a
That
question
sounds
for you.
stupid the way we're talking about we watched on Cinema Cult this week. We watched the hilarious Mouth of Madness.
The laugh out loud.
starring the slapstick Sam Neill.
Damn it, I couldn't do that.
So they try to leave town. I'm curious on this. They try to leave town, and he's like, "Come with me." He's talking to Linda, and Linda says she can't because she's already read the entire book.
She's just written this way.
So she's already read the book, so she can't leave town.
Yeah.
I don't really understand. She read the book that she's in, that she's going to be written out of. Like, I don't understand.
That's what I mean. It starts to kind of like
it's just
play
that
back on itself.
Her part of the story is up. Basically, that's just the plot. You know, she's written like everything that she does action wise is just how she's written. Basically, she's just a character, and it's an abrupt stop. Basically, she can't continue on because she was written to say the lines that she says.
Well, and then this movie completely rips off the faculty because
you're right. Totally.
She ends up getting out of the car at one point in this movie, and like her head is twisted.
Josh Hartnett pulls out the machete or the paper cutter machete.
Well,
I see what you're
Sam Neill
saying.
has a couple ballpoint pens with guaranteed to jack you up.
Yeah, it's sniffing.
So I know it's very confusing to talk about this because I feel like so much happens and you don't really know the order. It's very confusing to talk about.
Yeah.
So like I said, this whole last 30 minutes is just like scenes.
Yeah.
So he ends up getting out of town. He leaves, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes and meets Charlton Heston, who's like, "Hey, I never sent anybody with you. You went alone."
Yeah.
And then we find out, because I do like this. This is cool, because Sam Neill goes, "You can't release that book." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "We already had this conversation. We released it 7 months ago. The movie comes out
tomorrow
next week or something."
whatever.
Yeah. So this is cool. I do like this.
This is really cool. Because Heston's like performance here is just it's just creepy. It just creeps me out that it's so just like mundane.
Yeah.
The movie comes out next week.
I do
it's
like
just,
this.
so nonchalant.
Like you handed it was like something like you handed me the manuscript, even though he was like, didn't he say he like destroyed it or something?
Yeah.
Or whatever, but he's like, yeah, you personally handed me the manuscript and everything. Like the book came out weeks ago and we had the movie comes out tomorrow, debut.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I would say this is the one fault in the story though, is that this last like third act feels weird, like where I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to piece everything together. I feel like I'm going crazy.
Yeah, I mean that could be why.
I'm trying to piece everything together, and it's like if you read this book, like this book would be a really weird read, where you're like,
right.
You know what I mean, like just jumping scenes like this, kind of things you can only do in editing in a movie.
Yeah.
And movies like these
wise.
are hard to talk about on the podcast because it's almost like talking about a Lynch movie. David Lynch movie, because there's so much like
That's a good way to put it.
abstract imagery.
Yeah, and you can't talk about every single thing, and something. I mean, you get out of order with things. You're like, did that mean anything? I don't know. We're talking about it. So, and this last 30 minutes feels like a Lynch type movie. It's
basically gets non-linear by the end of the movie, unlike say Escape from New York, which has a point A to point B plot.
Oh, for sure.
You know, where it's just like it starts jumping around the place. Like I can't even keep track anymore. You know,
it should have said David Lynch's John Carpenter's. David Lynch presents John Carpenter's Mouth of Madness.
God.
So Sam Neill ends up going crazy, and he ends up taking an axe to a kid who just bought the new Sutter Kane book.
Yeah.
Much like the agent, like he looks like the agent did in the beginning. He's put out of it. So now we're at the beginning of the movie, and he's in the asylum. Mm-hmm. And I guess we hear this radio announcement where there's like monsters not controlling the world, but there's like monsters out.
They're like leaking out into the world, basically.
Which is really cool. Show me that. I like the fact that
I didn't get that. I didn't get that there was monsters.
Yeah, he said like monstrous creatures out in.
Who said that?
The newscast. Yeah, I can't believe you didn't catch that on your 16th time watching this movie.
I know. I didn't on the newscast. They say that.
Yeah, they talk about how there's monsters and everything. And
I always thought it was just like everybody went crazy on the outside.
No, because they hint at it in when Sutter Kane rips his face off and it turns into like the CGI pages or whatever, and you see like the monsters.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. Is like they're coming out to the real world. They are like I think he describes it as like the creators of our world. But then they got separated by the bounds of the books or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're slowly trying to retake over the world. And that's what happens with the manuscript. It gets leaked or it gets released. They break through the book. They start taking over the world. They drive people crazy. There's mass suicides, mass murders, blah, blah, blah.
I thought that's what I'm getting at, is that I thought the mass murders were caused by humans, not monsters.
Well,
I don't think monsters are killing anybody.
I think it's
killing.
Combination monsters plus it's like the group acts dream that he has where it's like the people. I think it's just a combination of everyone's going insane at this
Yeah,
point.
it says what I'm reading here. It says at the end, the radio announces the world has been overrun with monstrous creatures, including mutating humans and outbreaks of suicide and mass murder.
Okay.
So,
go ahead.
So this is the end of the film, and who's the guy that Sam Neill was talking to in the ward? David Warner.
David Warner, yeah.
So David Warner leaves. And Sam Neill wakes up the next morning, and I guess he's like the only one there. Is that right?
Yeah, everyone's gone. There's no patients or no staff or anything.
And then he pretty much leaves the asylum to go to the movie theater. Is that correct? Am I skipping anything?
Yeah.
Nope. It's deserted town, and then on the marquee it says "In the Mouth of Madness," and he sees that awesome poster. I wish that was the poster of this movie.
Yeah, that is.
The poster's great.
Outside, and it's just like "In the Mouth of Madness."
But honestly, though, I'm fine with like what you're saying is broadcasted over the radio. I think that's way cooler than actually showing it.
Oh yeah, that's what I feel like with horror movies. That's what it's better. And I forget who said it, but like there's like interviews with somebody where it's like the horror monsters are better left unseen and unheard. It's better to leave it up to your imagination.
Yeah.
Which is why like say Halloween is so awesome because you only see him in the shadows and you only really see him at the end. But even then, you don't really know what the hell.
Yeah.
Michael Myers is, you know.
But it would be kind of cool to like have a hint, be like, oh, you can kind of tell there's monsters in the background
That'd
or
be cool.
something.
Yeah,
that's why I think I have never caught that while watching this. Was that the monster?
I didn't.
Well,
I just
you
read.
probably would have caught it if you had subtitles on.
Yeah. Oh.
That's true. No, I just read it. I didn't even catch that when I saw the movie either.
Yeah.
But Sam Neill leaves. He goes to this movie theater, and he sits down. He's the only one in it. And he realizes he's watching the new John Carpenter movie, In the Mouth of Madness.
I love it.
He's like, oh, man, sneak peek. And it's like Spaceballs. He's like,
what is now?
It's the newest in video technology.
Yeah.
You just missed it.
When?
Just now.
So
He will now be now.
soon.
Just soon.
I love it.
So he's watching himself live what we just watched.
Yeah.
And he just starts laughing hysterically
I
at it.
love this ending.
Yes.
And then it cuts to black.
This ending's
I
great.
love it because it goes from laughter to crying. And it's just, I think this is...
It is a cool
I think
ending.
this is just perfect Sam Neill acting right
I
now.
would have to go on record and say that it's probably the best reason why somebody would go insane. Ever.
Oh my God.
Like,
can you imagine that?
in a movie?
Yeah.
As far as like I know that that's like a common trope where it's like, yeah, they went insane from seeing that monster or whatever, and that's a lot of H.P. Lovecraft
Could you imagine
stuff.
going to a movie theater? I mean,
But
like
this
not during the pandemic or whatever, but imagine going to a theater and then you see the reenactment or of us sitting here trying to make this episode, struggling to make this episode.
Yes.
I would be laughing and crying.
Oh man,
Dun, dun, dun,
to sit there
dun,
and find out that you're a character in a movie, that'd be like, oh, that's the worst.
That's
yeah, I love it. I think it's like
It is a cool
great
ending.
reason why somebody would go insane.
So of the three, like, because this is the Apocalypse trilogy, which one has the strongest ending between The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and this one?
The Thing.
The Thing is the best of the three.
Well, of course,
Yes.
yeah.
But I would have to say this has the best ending of the three.
Because Prince of Darkness is just the recording where it's like...
That's what I thought.
Shadow,
It's been a while, but that's what I thought it was.
where it's like, this is a broadcast, blah, blah, blah. The end of the world is happening. And you see that... Because now it goes from in Prince of Darkness, if I recall, it's a silhouette of... You don't know if it's a male or female, but at the end, it's the girl that jumped into the mirror.
I had to
And
rewatch
she's
it again. It's been a
basically
long
the
time
harbinger
since
or
I've seen it.
whatever.
Well, yeah, and he like his hand like goes real close to the mirror and then it cuts.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what if it's the gateway to the
I
other
don't
side?
remember.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that.
But The Thing has a really cool ending. Like
Because you don't know if it's still there or not.
Yeah, but I love the ending to this movie because it's just like it literally ends where like nothing major happens. The last like 20 minutes of the movie is like there's no monsters. It's kind of like it kind of goes downhill as far as like scares, and it's just like one of the best endings to be like.
It's basically
that's a Twilight Zone ending. That's how you end a story.
Basically, each I guess in this one is basically like the end was happening no matter what you do about it. Like it's inevitable and.
Well, that's what he
just
says
laughing,
about
crying.
all of them. They're all like all three of the Apocalypse trilogies movies. They're all like. No matter what the characters do, you can't end it. Like they're just a part of the story, and it's the world's gonna end, and there's nothing they can do to help that.
I think it's pretty cool.
No, so that's In the Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter. That was Matt's pick. Let's go ahead and grade it. Matt, what would you give In the Mouth of Madness?
Out of I would probably give it a 4 stars out of 5 stars.
We don't do stars.
Letter grades.
I do.
We do letter grades.
What do you do?
We do letter grades every
I'll
episode.
give it a B+ then.
Okay.
I would give it probably It's like a B plus, but probably like a B plus.
Okay, I give it a C.
Yeah.
I think the movie has a lot of potential. I think the ideas are there. I think the cast is there. It's just very, I don't want to say generic. It's just, I feel like it doesn't live up to anything. It should be totally crazy that last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I feel like it builds up, and then halfway through, it falls off.
It's hard. I mean, if you look at all of his movies that he's made, it's a hard movie to follow up, compared to like Halloween or Escape from New York.
Oh, for sure. When you have such a good resume beforehand.
Yeah.
And I the movie's not bad. This probably won't be the last time I watch it. It's a good, like, in the background Halloween movie.
I'd say, like, revisit it not like every day or every year or whatever.
Every day.
You told me I would not take that advice.
If you rewatch it every day, you'd be like Sam Neill at the end of that.
Again.
I just wanted utter chaos by the end of it. I just don't feel like it delivers.
Utter chaos.
It just holds back, I feel like. I don't know. The ending, the last shot is awesome, but the last 20, 30 minutes
it gets pretty chaotic.
What would you want to see?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what I wanted to see. But if you're making a movie where it's supposed to be like utter craziness, show me the utter craziness. Don't tell me like it's crazy.
I mean,
there.
as far as like,
see, and I'm like opposite. I think it works way better with like them just subtly talking about it and him walking empty streets at the end.
I mean, it's obviously
I think it's because I think the movie's the one that pushes it. I think them making the movie and the movie getting released is like why everything just goes crazy.
Yeah, because it's like if you watch it's like if people
didn't read the book,
if people don't read the book, they're watching it and then going crazier.
Yeah, but I just don't understand. Like, show it to me. Don't have someone look in the camera and be like, "It's crazy out there." I'm like, "Ooh, scary." He told me it was crazy. Show me it's crazy out there.
Well, I think it's more of like it's supposed to be made more for like sophisticated audiences, not like people who are like not like audiences where it's like I need it now. Like, give it to me now. I want it all now.
It's for fans of the Vivitch. People are.
Dude, I saw something where like I was reading a comment section on
I'm sure
on a show that was coming
this is
out.
great.
Yeah, I was reading a comment section where a show was coming out, and everyone and like there's a couple people on the comment section where they're like, are they going to release all the episodes at once? And they're like, no, they're just going to release it one at a time. They're like, oh, that's so stupid. I want to binge it.
Yeah,
and it's just like, just deal with it. Like,
this is like the old world.
Yeah, like I gotta wait.
Yeah,
like people like you were like, you just can't wait, and they just want to see it. They want it now.
Or it could be people like you, and anything that someone I like does, you have to back it up, even if it's not good.
Oh man, it was great experience.
Cool. So that is our chaotic ending to a chaotic movie. The first of our October Scarefest. I haven't used that word yet.
October Scarefest.
Join us next time when we do Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. That'll be my pick. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Honto.
And we'll see you next time.